I said, hey, Don Ho. Oh, that was cool, all that Bruce Lee stuff. Where you learn how to do all that?
Peking Opera School.
So you hang out with the three tenors?
I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And we are the Heroes 3. Welcome to Heroes 3, the bi-weekly podcast where three friends explore the best, worst, and everything in between in the world of Asian cinema. And this week, you can tell this is on a little bit of a different day, and we're not really looking at Asian cinema, but it has an Asian cinema guy in it, so...
Yeah, totally. It's like, it has to do with Asian cinema in a way. There's like it's like a cool, like, I don't know, stew or masala of like... East and West, and also like movies and TV crews kind of coming together.
I think if you've been listening to the podcast, you probably got a lot of clues telling you that it was leading up to this moment.
A long time.
It's been coming a long time.
Yeah.
This week we're taking a look at Martial Law, the American-Canadian TV series that aired on CBS from 1998 to 2000, and of course is starring Sammo Hung and. Starting a little bit and through the first season, also starring Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
Which is a combination I never thought I would hear.
This is...
among many combinations I was expecting to hear until I started watching this.
Yeah, this is crazy. So, I remember it, just because it was such a spectacle. Like, really? This is a real show? And Arsenio Hall's interacting with Sammo Hung, which is... when I was around the age of this show coming out, I was not super familiar with Sammo, and I think this is right around the time that Rush Hour was coming out.
It was actually crazy because Rush Hour came out in September of 1998, and I looked this up on a calendar, and it was literally the following weekend that the pilot premiered.
Oh, that Martial Law aired?
TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I knew it was close, but...
So it was like, kind of lockstep, and we've talked a little bit about we've talked a lot about Martial Law in the past episodes, but
it's like the deep impact to Armageddon of
Ooh,
Rush Hour.
Dude, I like it. But yeah, there's like a what's the like corporate term that they use for like this cross-plat something vertical integration or something like that.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It is almost like that but the brand, I guess, in this case is just like the Hong Kong action sensibility or something. But I remember in our Super Cop episode is probably when we spoke the most about Martial Law, because that has the most direct connection, which is like the show was originally pitched by Stanley Tong, director of Super Cop, as a Jackie vehicle, a Jackie like television vehicle in the States. And Stanley was pitching this, but I guess Jackie wasn't either interested or available, and seeing the timeline that there must have already been maybe Rush Hour production underway or something. So we contacted Sammo, and Sammo was good to go, and apparently the network was so interested in the idea that even them not getting Jackie, and you have to imagine that most of the network execs had never heard of Sammo Hung, but it still got greenlit. And what's also amazing is I think in the West, people kind of sort of cheerfully maybe joked about Jackie's English abilities or his like thick accent, but that was sort of nothing compared to Sammo, who had very little experience with the language, which I don't know. I think it makes you really like root for him.
You can definitely tell that he was probably between every scene. He had to brush up on what he had to say.
Yeah. Well, what's cool too, I suppose, the more connective tissue with Stanley Tong and Jackie is and I don't know if they all aired this way, but at least on the DVD, before the end credits, there's like a blooper reel.
I love that.
And,
that was so
and a lot of the bloopers
that.
Are Sammo kind of fumbling English lines.
Right.
Yeah, there's a great one where he's like just forgets what his line is, and then Arsenio says,
"Hey, I don't speak Chinese."
Yeah, it's great. Dude, in Arsenio, what's awesome about this show is I can't wait to dive back in and kind of like watch the whole thing, because I only saw occasional episodes when it originally aired.
Same.
But I'm not aware of a series that had as many cast shuffles as Martial Law. Like even within the first like 10 episodes. Yeah. There's the final shot in the opening like titles montage is of our main our core cast, like in like a wide shot, like walking towards the camera, and it seems like they must have had to reshoot that like 5 or 6 times as this core cast.
Yeah, it's that stereotypical last shot of an intro and a procedural with the cast. And they almost have like a cut and paste for all the different actors that are involved.
Oh man, but Arsenio is such a good fit, and it's also, I think it was a nice move for him, because after his show, he kind of disappeared from like the public consciousness for a long time, and his talk show had made like a pretty big splash when it was out in like the earlier 90s. Yeah, exactly. And
cue Bill Clinton.
Yeah, totally playing the saxophone, winning the election probably that way. But there's such a cool fit, and obviously there are going to be comparisons to Jackie and Chris Tucker, and maybe that's some of what they're going for. But Arsenio's character is really nothing like Chris Tucker. He brings this kind of like, he has a little bit of like hustle to him, but he has this kind of like distinguished, like, you can trust me, I'm like in charge here. And it's a really good fit for Sammo. But what he does that reminds me of Chris Tucker, and honestly reminds me a little of Owen Wilson, is like part of, I think, what makes him a great partner isn't just that they have natural chemistry, they do, but he almost feels like he has his back, like as a performer, like, and is able to kind of cover for what Sammo might be insecure about. And I think that's what's great about the Rush Hour and the Shanghai Noon movies, is it's like, their partner doesn't feel like they're like, they can laugh with them, but you really get the sense that they're brothers, and like they have their back, and they don't want them to embarrass themselves or look stupid. And I don't know, it's really cool, and it's exciting. The episode that we're focusing on today, I guess, is the that first episode where Arsenio appears, and you can tell it's like, oh, this is going to work. Definitely, we better we better fire a couple cast members to kind of make this all happen. Yeah,
it is funny too. Yeah, you see that Arsenio is a professional entertainer, and that really makes up for what Sammo is lacking on the American television.
So my history, as we kind of hinted at it a little bit throughout the course of the show, but my history of the show is, of course, I'm a bit younger than you guys, so I was just a kid whenever this aired, and I remember watching it with my brothers whenever it aired. But I remember watching this and Early Edition with them whenever I was a kid, and this was my introduction to Sammo Hung. I didn't know, like, it's funny, I always kind of grew up thinking Sammo Hung was kind of on a similar level as Jackie Chan in America, and now looking back on it, he completely wasn't, because Jackie was in so many more things, and so many more people know who Jackie Chan is versus Sammo Hung. But in my mind, it was like, oh yeah, they're like similar, both, Chinese actors doing American stuff.
That is so cool, dude. And I mean, I think it's almost like you got to inherit a little bit of the Hong Kong perspective. And we should say, like, Martial Law was actually a pretty big hit in its day.
It was. Yeah, it was actually the only reason it got canceled after the second season was a little bit because of production costs, but a lot of it was because Sammo actually really didn't like how the second season turned out, because he kind of felt like the character Sammo was getting turned into just like a fight machine, or he said something kind of like that. And he kind of didn't like the direction. And he's Sammo Hung. He's got he can literally pull a lot of weight. So he was, pulled out.
Yeah, I could see that being partly Arsenio's fault, maybe because of his charisma in front of the camera. Maybe the writers
not
of the
his
show,
fault, but the way that they use Arsenio.
Yeah, like the writers knowing that he was part of the duo were like, okay, so Arsenio's like the funny guy, and he's making the quips.
He'll have the words, and
and Sammo will be like the straight man in the middle of. But honestly, I think Sammo pulls his weight when it comes to the comedy on the show as well.
Oh, totally.
And I feel like he was almost maybe they if they would have realized how much talent Sammo had, like who knows, like really where this show could have gone. And yeah, it's so funny just seeing. I mean, for us, it's like Heroes 3, right? We're doing this Hong Kong cinema, but like seeing this now, like how I've done with a lot of these episodes we've covered, the context of our podcast using this is blowing my mind. Cause like the first episode that I watched is just like this. Literally every interaction with Sammo is just a pure gold.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, like I can't believe this exists, and I can't believe that there's 2 seasons worth of this madness. I remember maybe like months ago, I was home on a Sunday and it was on TV, like on one of my local channels, and
nice.
Literally like the end of the episode ended with Sammo like playing guitar and a like concert in the police like station. And I'm like, what is this?
So cool.
This is ridiculous. I can't believe it. And we've got plenty of examples in the stuff that we've covered today. I know we're talking about the first episode with Arsenio, but watching the very first episode, I told Matthew this before we recorded, but literally like towards the end of the episode, Sammo ends up on The Price is Right. And you've got
incredible
Bob Barker and Rod Roddy like announcing Sammo's name, and then him
Never in my
down.
life thought I would hear Bob Barker say, Sammo, come on down.
Yeah.
Sammo, come on now. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
So
up here, Sammo.
what I did,
it's incredible.
Yeah, as I literally paused the video and I purchased the martial law complete series on DVD.
That's perfect.
I cannot miss out on this. Like, this is too funny to me. I couldn't believe it.
That's great. Yeah, we've got to get that little clip up on YouTube. And what's cool is, I don't know how they did it, because we're definitely seeing like the production feed of The Price is Right. It's like their cameras and everything. I don't know whether they would, because supposedly standards and practices for game shows are like a lot more strict than most of us would think, and that really goes back to like if you've ever seen the movie Quiz Show, the scandal in the 50s around that variety show of that name, the Quiz Show, where there was some suspected cheating. So the security is like kind of crazy tight in a way that almost seems silly. So I can't imagine this would have been in the actual show, but it's also hard to it's hard to believe that they would like. I mean, they have the whole audience there, and maybe they shot it during the commercial or something. But it is amazing, and it's also cool. It's like Sammo has a name that like any English speaker can pronounce like so easily, and also I feel like it evokes his personality, where it's like there's something about it that's like lovable, you know. Sammo, come here. It's like, I don't know, I'm kind of 2 minds on martial law. On the one side, I actually think that the production shows a lot more respect to him than you would maybe expect. I mean, even the fact that the show is made at all is like it's such a shocker.
I think to this day, I think it might be the only primetime network TV show that stars where the main star is a East Asian person.
Yeah, which is crazy, or like non-American born East Asian.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% if even that would open up the field, but
yeah. Well, I think Fresh Up. I mean, I guess there are comedies like Fresh Off the Boat.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but anyways, it's but it's like the other part of me still. And I think you were kind of hinting at this, Carlos. It's like we know what Sammo's capable of, and he's really one of the genius action directors, and has also just a great sense for drama, and is a great actor. As respectful as they are towards him, it's just kind of not enough, right? It's like you have to believe that most of this crew is not aware of his legacy, and it's. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but maybe that's a good thing, like, because they are able to have a lot of fun with him and his character, you know, and they're not kind of treating him with reverence or anything. But you can understand, I guess, Sammo's frustration if he later on in the show doesn't get much dramatic work. It's interesting. There were two crossovers, right? There was a Nash Bridges crossover, and there was an early edition crossover.
It's actually Walker, Texas.
Oh, sorry,
It's Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Get it straight, Marty.
I'm getting all mixed up.
You're insulting Matthew right now.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about because Carlton Cuse, the creator of the show, he also created Nash Bridges, so I had that in the back of my mind.
Did you?
But
I read that Carlton Cuse. Okay, so Andy Borowitz created Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he said that Carlton on the Fresh Prince is based on
is
Carlton.
really?
Carlton Cuse. Oh, that's crazy.
Huh.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. There's a lot of like J.J. Abrams adjacent folks.
Yeah.
Involved in this. So Carlton Cuse is like he was really, I think, the main showrunner for Lost for most of the seasons, and had been involved in, I think, some other stuff with JJ. And I even noticed in the credits of the pilot there was a name that I recognized. Darn it, now I can't remember, but it was
Quick editor's note. I'm pretty sure Marty's talking about Josh Applebaum here. So if you were going to look it up, Josh Applebaum.
It was I recognize that name, and it was like someone who would end up like doing a lot of work with JJ and was the screenwriter on Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting folks involved. And then two of the other producers and writers on the show were Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, who they were like a screenwriting team that wrote a lot in like the mid to late 90s and into the 2000s. And they actually wrote the screenplays for Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights. And yeah, they're very much involved in this show. And I think their first credit might have been Lethal Weapon 4. So,
Jet Li.
Yeah. So there's some interesting, and yeah, East meets West kind of stuff. So those guys seem to have some kind of taste for it.
Right. And speaking of familiar names, we see another familiar name, and that would be Stanley Tong himself.
Yeah.
So he directs the first episode of the show, which I would assume would have been the pilot. But he's also credited throughout the rest of the show as one of the fight choreographers. We did find out a bit about that when we covered the Super Cop episode. And I think I remember seeing him doubling in some of the shots. And
did you guys see who his partner was in the choreography?
Yeah. So it was Alan Sitt.
Yeah, Chunwa. And we also met him in Super Cop, and it's cool
because he got hit with a ladder in first strike.
Yeah, and you also, it's clear that some of the crew kind of joined Sammo on the crossovers, because on the early edition crossover, he's fighting Alan Sitt.
I noticed that as well. Yes,
in the final scene. That's pretty cool. That's a really good crossover, and that was during the towards the end of the second season of Martial Law, I think, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that was an interesting thing, too, because
I feel like Sammo got some kind of meaty, dramatic stuff in that episode.
And so season 1 of Martial Law ends on like a cliffhanger. And when season 2 started, they like totally like discarded that, because I guess they got in some new writers, and they just have
didn't they discard almost like everything about the
they discarded a lot
story
in
of
the
the
second
show?
season. Like the intro's different. It's just kind of a different feel than the first season, which I think is part of why Sammo quit the show and the show got canceled.
Yeah,
I could see that.
It was a very expensive show too. I think
so it was like $2 million an episode, which is wild.
And this is kind of in this era where we're like moving away from stuff like maybe late 80s, early 90s was like more like Knight Rider and A-Team and stuff. And then it turns into stuff like this, like Walker, Texas Ranger and Martial Law and, Baywatch. And then just after this kind of run of shows, then you're going to start to see things like CSI and these procedurals that are just going to really take over.
And the 8,000 spin-offs of CSI.
Right. So
and
you're
Grey's
kind
Anatomy.
of in this... in between, where things can be still like kind of sitcom-y on these types of shows, but there's also like drama and people getting killed. So it kind of fits in a nice little spot in time.
Yeah.
Well, and it is rare to have such an action heavy, weekly network show. And it's one thing that's super interesting about the pilot. I don't feel this way about some of the later Martial Law episodes, is the editing is so different from the Hong Kong sensibility. The editing has this real like broadcast television kind of timing, or the cues it's kind of led from. So in the pilot, you have this Stanley Tong direction and the choreography with he and Alan Sit and I'm sure Sammo. But something about how it feels is like kind of strange. It's like, oh, these fights are staged really well and performed well, but it's like we're cutting away from shots like either too soon or too late. And I mean, maybe it didn't strike anybody else that way, but I'm sure there was like a little bit of like a learning curve to kind of make the show feel like a Hong Kong movie.
I'd be really interested in seeing the production, like behind the scenes of that first episode, because it is exactly that, like Stanley Tong at the helm and Sammo starring, but it's a Western product. So that'd be really cool to find out about that. I can picture Matthew saying, oh God, this episode's going to end up being like as long as our regular episodes.
Well, it's cool. I mean, we don't have to cover beat by beat, like plot stuff. But I mean, it's all just fascinating and fun. And the other cool thing about Sammo's, I guess, acting here is really a lot of the Sammo films we've watched on the podcast haven't featured his actual voice. It's been, dubbed, as was the practice until Super Cop, right?
Right.
At least in Hong Kong productions. And Sammo famously has a very kind of slight high, and high-pitched
Yeah, he has
voice.
kind of a high-pitched voice.
And I don't know, it's kind of fascinating, and there's something really cool about it in contrast with his like physical appearance. But I think there are times in the show where it's like that kind of slight voice with maybe how tentative he must feel over some of the dialogue. Yeah, it makes for really unique TV. I don't know how to really put it.
That's what I would say too, man. I can't believe that it exists. It's a gift, really. It's a gift.
It's a gift. This is a show that, like, if I didn't know about it, and if it wasn't such a I want to say it definitely stands out whenever I was a kid.
That's awesome.
If that hadn't happened, this would have been a show that we would be looking through, credits and been like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, totally.
Which makes me hope we can find something else similar to that in the future.
Oh,
but it was funny because I remember at the time too, just being really exciting, and I mean, I was aware of Sammo, not to the degree that I would be later, but it definitely felt like at the time it's like, oh wow, cool. So like Jackie's quote unquote brother is going to break out in Hollywood also. And I remember being kind of sad once after the show was canceled that we didn't really see Sammo in any Western productions. Which is too bad, because I mean there definitely was an audience that was tuning in week to week that seemingly was okay with his grasp on the language and everything else.
At the very least, you could have tossed them into the Rush Hour movies and kind of put them on the big screen here through that. That would have been cool.
And then
and it's kind of weird that didn't happen, that you didn't see more. Because what other Western stuff was Sammo even in?
Well, I mean, he directed Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, and he has a little role as like a
cameo.
crazy man kind of.
Right. He's like
with
a
his
bike
sweat
delivery guy.
It's like sweatsuit.
Yep. And he gets punched in the eye.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, outside of that, I don't know.
Huh.
It's crazy. And it's like we were saying, I think when we started our Sammo arc, as famous as he is, I still would consider him an underrated star.
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
in the West.
Yeah, and
and it's a good reminder too that Hollywood isn't anything approaching a meritocracy. It's projects come off the ground in all kinds of ways, but it usually has to do with the drive and initiative and relationships of the initial producers that are pitching it. And it's such an awesome story that Carlton Cuse and Stanley Tong were able to successfully put this show together, but that doesn't, and even though it's a popular show, it doesn't automatically kind of knight Sammo into, like the Hollywood acting elite or whatever.
Right, and we were still kind of in this kind of monoculture where the internet was around, but it wasn't like the world was changed by instant access.
Yeah.
Right.
If this show was popular, like what happened to Sammo over here? It is very interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was in the process of developing some things, and it would be cool to find out what they were and what happened. This should come out around our Ip Man episodes. And it's funny too because Sammo was in Enter the Fat Dragon, and Donnie is just about to release like Enter the Fat Dragon, or it just came out, something like that.
It's definitely right around the time that we're recording this.
Yeah, so that's really interesting too. So yeah, I don't know, like we could have had Enter the Fat Dragon in the US, and I feel like that could have been a popular thing, right?
Yeah,
capitalizing on Bruce Lee, but a vehicle for Sammo, like. That could have been really cool.
And also if like our original beloved trio of Jackie and Sammo and Yunbyu were in maybe a little bit better terms, like all three of them together in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I could imagine some kind of Hollywood or Western cinema vehicle that could involve those guys. Oh,
sure.
Another really cool detail, maybe one of my favorite moments from the crossover with Early Edition, is Sammo describes this ancient Chinese emperor.
What's this all about anyway?
I'm on loan to the LAPD from Shanghai. It was there last month. That a priceless relic. The battle helmet of General Yunbyu of the Qin Dynasty was stolen.
No way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, rewatch it. It's a great
That's
Wow.
great.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's this tiny
There is a
little
bit of that
Easter
on
egg.
the show too, because the premise is that Sammo Law, the police officer from Shanghai, arrives in LA and he's hunting down a criminal that has like abducted or something with his fellow police officer, and her name on the show is Chen
Chen
Pei,
Pei. Yeah.
Yeah.
which is like,
Whenever I
whoa,
heard
wait
that,
a
I was
second.
like, wait, what?
Yeah, so that's kind of fun.
And actually, it's in Shanghai Noon, which is written by two of the producers and writers of Martial Law. Lucy Liu's character is Princess Pepe.
Mm-hmm.
And in the one thing in the pilot before we jump into the main episode we're talking about today, one of the guys after Sammo, it beats up a bunch of dudes, says, "Where'd you learn
this is
that
my
Bruce
favorite.
Lee stuff?" And he says,
Peking Opera School.
So you hang out with the three tennis?
Oh man, that's my favorite.
And there's so many good lines. And also there's in the pilot, you've got that character actor. I don't know his name, but he was in Dumb and Dumber and a bunch of stuff in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He actually looks kind of like Will Sasso. We should mention the Will Sasso Mad TV sketch at some point too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but he plays this great, like, annoying, mean, blowhard white
the super
Chinese,
racist
like,
guy.
racist towards Chinese cups. And yeah, this is the kind of thing I think I was missing in like the way the, like, say the Ip Man films or like some of the contemporary People's Republic of China approved films.
Mike Starr
Right.
is the character actor's
Oh,
name.
great. Thanks.
Mike Starr.
Where it's like there's something about this where it's like you just want this guy to get his comeuppance. It's like there's something like, I don't know, kind of delicious about it. It's like whereas
And at
I didn't
at its heart, it's comedic. It's not,
totally.
it's not hurtful or politically motivated.
Yeah, it's just, hey, here's this big blowhard racist guy, and he's gonna get his comeuppance.
Yeah, totally.
Which,
and that's
which
a really cool scene.
The
in the pilot.
comeuppance is that it's
Yeah.
his Sammo's being on the case gets turned into a full-on cop exchange, and so the blowhard cop gets sent over to Hong Kong
Yeah,
or to
that's really
Shanghai or something.
or,
Yeah,
or to
it's like-
Shanghai. That's right, because he's supposed to be from
Yeah.
Shanghai.
which is, I mean, that's perfect. Like that. That's also probably the most apt punishment for like someone that racist. It's like, okay,
Right.
you need to be like reconditioned.
Immersion therapy.
So there should have been like a Chinese show with him and Yunbyu as a cop duo.
Oh man.
I'd watch that.
And then
Yeah.
suppose I'm sure we all read about this, like doing a little research, but they planned a little Jackie cameo for one episode that they didn't end up. At least what you read online, it says they didn't end up using. I kind of wonder if it just didn't end up happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I bought the DVD set, so I'm gonna comb through that. And I'll
Go
let
through
you
it.
know.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Sounds good.
But the other thing that's really cool about the entire series is that it brings together some actual like Hong Kong cast with American actors of like a Hong Kong descent or background.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's kind of cool because it's like we don't really see like these two streams of actors interacting much. in
I
movies.
definitely noticed some faces like you'd see in like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom or something like that. You're
Yeah,
like,
totally.
"Oh,
Or
this
just
guy."
like in American television.
Yep.
Oh yeah, this episode's chock full of people where like I vaguely recognized it, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh hey, that's that person.
Yeah, they have like 300 IMDb credits.
Yeah. So let's without further ado, let's jump into the episode. But first, let's take a listen to the actual promo for this episode, which is titled "How Sammo Got His Groove Back."
He's got the moves. He's got the mouth. Don't move! Together, they're the LAPD's most lethal combination. Arsenio Hall teams up with Sammo Hung in the #1 new drama.
That's all I know, really.
An all-new episode of Martial Law, CBS Saturday.
So this episode starts in probably the way that just reminds you that we're in the year 1998 or maybe 99 with Genuine.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
genuine.
And it's also like super saturated.
Oh,
colors.
yeah. Like
But
this,
it's
the
like-
angle,
it's all shot on
the
film,
angles
so it's
just
like,
looks
yeah.
like it's from the 90s.
Oh,
Like,
And
totally.
those the Timbaland beats.
Yeah, and because you
Yeah.
hear Timbaland's like voice coming, it's very much like an Aaliyah kind of Timbaland beat. And
Hey, did you
yeah.
guys did you know that Genuine's real name is Elgin Lumpkin?
I did
Oh
not.
my gosh, no!
Genuine's a much
that's-
better name.
That's not a joke. That's true.
I believe you. I believe you.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember in Parks and Rec they have like a running thing where
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the lore of the show, like Donna and Genuine are cousins.
Our cousins, yeah.
Oh,
It's really cool.
nice.
But yeah, it starts with a Genuine concert, and and he gets shot.
Goes
And-
straight into an
It's crazy
assassination.
by like a sniper.
Yeah,
Oh,
the sniper
man.
looks exactly like Tupac. Did anyone else think
Yeah.
that? He looks
Oh man,
really
he's like
similar
adding
to
to the
Tupac.
drama.
He's
Yeah.
like ambiguously Asian. Yeah, the gag right away is that Sammo is confused as
Like a Chinese
Arsenio's
caterer,
character is like
yeah.
setting up this event, and he thinks that Sammo is the caterer.
Yeah. And that leads up to the great joke after the after doing kung fu and stuff to try to take out the assassin guy when Arsenio says,
You aren't the caterer, are you?
Oh, and
That's-
I love these shows with their cold opens.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's so fun. I love it so much.
Oh, yeah, and that-
yeah, we get some serious stunts here too.
mhm. Oh yeah, and of course that jumps into the intro, which is borderline offensive. It's kind of
I think-
offensive from a place of ignorance because like
Yeah.
the way the title works is that it'll like show the character and then it'll look like these vaguely Asian looking letters, but it's
Yeah,
just all of the letters of the person's name jumbled on
We
top
have
of
to remember
each
like the
other.
late 90s. This
Oh.
is the period when people are first starting to put Chinese tattoos on their body that they haven't
Yeah.
like, translated properly.
Yes. Oh man.
And yeah, it's and there's also that like late 90s like snare drum sound that's like
Oh yeah,
really
it's so
special
cheesy.
too, and yeah, it's
And-
kind of and they're sort of like they're that like that Chinese like musical
The-
cliche
yeah.
stereotype, like they're really adjacent to it,
hmm
like the whole theme.
Oh,
And it has,
great.
but and
I-
also it has this very like you can tell like your MacBook from 2000 could probably make this intro. Like
yeah.
as
I love the
sliding around and
the
stuff's really
badge.
bad.
There's like
Yeah.
a police badge, but it's got like a
Yeah,
dragon
that's
design on
cool.
it.
Mhm.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
but right before this, the whole little action sequence is really fun. So the sniper jumps on a motorcycle and he's making a break for it, and Sammo like pulls a chain and like the first guy ducks and then the other guy gets clipped, and then there's a funny shot where Sammo like he pushes a boulder.
Yeah, there's this like public space like art of like it's the kind of thing you've seen in maybe like a park or something where there's like
Yeah.
a concrete boulder painted red, and but he's able to
Perfect.
just like push it down and it
Perfect.
becomes like a Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Like
and Arsenio
boulder and
Hall
stuff.
sees that Sammo's gonna get shot, and he like jumps and saves him,
Which is really
that's
cool,
really
but it's also kind of
cool.
like it's like a surprising like opening move for a
Yep.
character.
Yeah.
Actually, Yumbu doubled for Arsenio Hall too. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh, dude.
the pause.
That's
guys
one
are
of
like,
those.
It's
wait,
so it's
that
so
can't be right.
plausible that it's like what?
Oh,
He doubled as
Yeah.
Arsenio and as Sammo and the guy driving the motorcycle.
right. I found that out on Arsenio Hall's HKMDB page.
Oh, that's great.
Which actually, Arsenio Hall's actual name is Arsenio Hall.
That is
And
not true.
Arsenio Hall is his Hollywood name.
It's Hollywood.
Is that the Cantonese or the Mandarin name?
It's Mandarin because of the SH.
Oh, perfect.
All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, don't be done. That's
You're
great.
good. But yeah, that leads into this episode as it's kind of all about Arsenio's character, Terrell. He basically wants to be on the force and be Sammo's partner. That's kind of like almost like the subplot of the episode.
And they sort of make that happen, and the normal actor and character that kind of portray his partner, he gets like sidelined.
Yeah.
This running B plot that ends up being a little more important, which is like this kind of like Beanie Baby inspired.
Thank
Oh
you.
man! Also to remind you that we're in the
man.
late '90s. There's a Beanie.
Yeah, in case you didn't know.
and also like the toy shortages, like the original Tickle Me Elmo. That must have been around that time too. Man, I remember my parents actually got my youngest brother a Tickle Me Elmo like around that time when it was
No way.
out, and it was like it was like a super big deal because like they were the only people in town that found. But
Well, next time I see him, I'll demand to see his Tickle Me Elmo.
Oh,
I'm sure he still has
yeah.
it, right? And so,
oh man,
family
yeah,
heirloom.
we should scratch that.
And we also have to mention that Kelly Hu is on this show, and
She's awesome, man.
oh, she's great. I like her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please
she doesn't
fill
get to
my heart,
do.
for
Yeah,
sure.
she doesn't get to do too much in this episode, but yeah, she's a very attractive lady.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's awesome, and
And the other thing is, late 90s, that means like everyone eventually is wearing like a pleather jacket, and I think like most of the images you see of her from the show, she's wearing some type of fake leather jacket in all different colors, reds
Yeah.
and blues.
although in the pilot when you first meet her, it's like it's just like straight bikini,
Straight
like,
wearing a
most of the
bikini,
episode,
and of
yeah.
course, and in the intro of every episode, that's the scene you see.
Well, yeah, you've got to refer to the first episode, right? And
Exactly. That's I love that in intros, how intros have all the cool scenes from the pilot that you'll never see that pilot if you're watching this on TV.
right. Oh man, that's cool. But yeah, her character is like introduced to the show with kind of an interesting hook, and then at a certain point, she's like, this is the way that television used to be. Honestly, before Carlton Cuse's like super famous show Lost, which I think really changed the serialization approach to most television, which is that it was really critical to be following one episode to the next, and ostensibly that developments in the plot really mattered or had a lot more impact than in traditional television. But martial law is it's more of like a classic kind of story of the week sort of show. So I imagine if you missed out on some of the early episodes, you'd probably just think Kelly Hu has always been an officer.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I never saw those early episodes. I didn't know she kind of had like a face turn kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode, that leads into there's this whole plot about like trying to catch this guy that tried to assassinate Zeke, the Genuine character.
Oh, right.
And the main bad guy in this episode is named Floyd, I think, something like that. Yeah, Floyd Cross. I found out he's actually played by Ernie Hudson Jr., the son of the of course the Winston from Ghostbusters.
I'm gonna blow your mind right now. So Arsenio Hall plays Winston on the real Ghostbusters.
That's right. On the cartoon, yeah.
Whoa.
It's all connected.
Everything's connected.
That's great. Wow.
But yeah, this show is kind of, I mean, I guess a lot of TV shows at this time are like that, but there's going through the IMDb is like so many that guys or that girls, so many character actors that are in a billion other things.
Well, it's such
there's a scene where Arsenio Hall Terrell is like trying to talk to some Jamaican dudes. And
that's great.
The main Jamaican dude, like you'd see him in a ton of stuff back in the day. I remember him from the black and white music video when everybody's morphing.
Oh yeah, totally.
With different races. He's the Jamaican dude in that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of follow the trail, and it leads to this kind of music studio area, and that leads to our next big kind of action set
It's
piece.
cool because they're like shooting stuff like in some Los Angeles studio.
Yeah.
It's such a surprising plot that it's heavily involved with bootlegging, but it's cool because it's like this pre-Napster time where it's about like bootlegging CDs.
Before
so
everyone could steal all the music they could possibly
it's kind
want.
of prescient because like music bootlegging was, I don't think it was really on the like public consciousness that much, kind of like before the P2P era was like really big. And also kind of like bootlegging in China was something I don't think people were really thinking about very much, but it's like, oh, it's all, it's kind of like foreshadowing, but it's like a lot of predictions of the future. It's like some of the core details end up changing. But it was, I don't know, really cool like story area, I guess, for the episode. That's kind of surprising. I mean,
Sure.
you don't want to think about it too much or it might not make all that much sense, but
Right, just like Sammo's final move in this little action scene, you've got one of the sleazeball producers trying to make a break for it, and Sammo runs into the hall, and there's like a row of music stands, and he kicks them like dominoes, and they end up tripping the guy.
yeah, that's great.
That's oh man,
that's
I love
that's one
stuff
of
like that.
those like gives me flashbacks to being in band and in high school.
Yeah, totally.
Did that stuff really happen to you guys?
Well, no, but like you'd think about that whenever they're all all waiting to.
But it's
get
funny
put
that
up
is
or
like
something
that is like maybe your high school connection with like music making, which is probably your band program or something. Whereas like most recording studios, you probably will have a few music stands on hand. Just if people are reading charts or whatever, but it's a lot less ubiquitous than with like orchestral music or something.
But yeah, he takes the guy down. It's funny, you see a lot more of it in the pilot than in this episode, but there's some legit wire work in these episodes. Like there's a bit where Arsenio gets like pushed back by a guy on the ground, and Sammo does this really amazing roundhouse kick at one point.
Right, yeah. I think that the final fight in the first episode is legit like a good action scene.
Oh yeah.
It looks very
totally
good, and it holds up, I think. But yeah, even in this episode, you see a couple of instances of wire work, and I think it all works. And I would have been super excited to see stuff like that on regular TV when I was a kid.
Yeah, totally.
But we get to see the back of the station. There's like this army of angry moms looking for the cuddle bug.
That's great.
The Beanie Baby stand-in.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Which I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And one of the one of the little girls in it that we see a little bit later was actually played a pretty prominent character in Star Trek Voyager, Naomi, who's like this little like
nice.
this little not a smart ass kid. There's a better word for it than that. Precocious. That's the one. A little precocious kid.
Ooh.
But yeah, I was never huge into Voyager, but I thought that was a cool connection.
I was kind of into Voyager. I thought it was all right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I really like the scene where they're interrogating this slimy producer. There's like this funny bit where they're playing good cop, bad cop, and Arsenio's taking the lead.
That's great.
And he says, if I put the cup down, that's your signal for you to like pounce on the guy.
Mhm.
And
So he has all this fun with like almost putting it on the
Yeah,
table.
it's really well done, and you get to see their chemistry in this scene. I thought it was great. This was, I think, the moment when I was really starting to be won over in this episode.
Eventually, Sammo just gets fed up with it and just pushes the mug on the table and starts putting the guy in like a headlock or something.
Yeah, totally.
There's like a car chase later in the episode that's really fun, and like you said before, Marty, like this is all like on location. Like you can tell they're just like running around with the camera, and there's some stunt drivers taking care of the stuff, and I think it's pretty cool. Like it's like some big wide shots, and like they've got the typical hubcap flying off of the wheel as the car turns. Like, pretty cool.
And
totally.
most of Sammo's lines are less than 5 words, but at this part he's like starts driving all crazy, and the guy says like, do you have your driver's license? And he says,
There's for 3 weeks.
Well, there's another cool like car related beat in the show where they're kind of following the breadcrumbs of who's all involved in this giant bootlegging scheme. And there's this guy that runs or works at a car dealership, but they're thinking, oh, well, who will actually be able to successfully go in undercover and not be detected as a cop? And so everyone kind of points to Sammo. And yeah, this is like, Sammo gets a fun, more like kind of dialogue-y, talky scene with this guy.
But that's kind of the joke of this scene, is that the guy is just asking him some kind of simple questions and he's having a hard time like thinking of things.
Yeah.
So the people on the wire have to like give him the prompting, and of course it goes.
Oh, sure.
And it goes south.
All hard artists. Like who? Busybone, Corrupt, Cannabis, Busta Rhymes.
Busybody, Crapper, and Cannabis, and Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, but then it goes south and he just punches the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this eventually leads to kind of our final fight scene in a nightclub, which I always like a good nightclub fight scene. There's
Especially a good like TV nightclub.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
because
cool
you can't get
because
too
it's like
scummy,
quality
you
with-
know.
It's like if there's a spectrum with like Saved by the Bell on one end in terms of like, or Power Rangers in terms of like real life, and then there's maybe, I don't know, Oz or some kind of gritty HBO show.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like, I don't know where it is. I guess somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because they have this stage set up for like almost a rock band or something, but then it's supposed to be that there are all these like R&B producers like hanging out there with their like really big 90s suits, and yeah, it's awesome. Also because like this show doesn't seem to have a lot of night shoots, and so really like this is one of the only occasions where you can have kind of like a darker set piece. Like in this interior of this club, and it's really cool, and they have just some awesome action kind of with everybody here. There is a funny bit at one moment when Arsenio is like fighting the main bad guy, and it's like such an overt like kind of like slow dance. It's really kind of amazing. That would be a cool thing to GIF, because I think it would just be kind of puzzling what you're watching.
Yeah, because I was watching.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It looks like they like were supposed to undercrank it or something. Like it
totally.
He very slowly like grabs a beer mug and slams it on the guy's head, where like that wouldn't actually break if that was a real glass. But then he says the great line to the producer guy who has his cool like yellow suit on. And he says,
Gotta have that suit back to the Temptations by midnight.
Yeah, that's great.
That was a good Arsenio improvisation right there.
yeah, he's got some
I
good
believe
lines in
it.
this. He really does.
Yeah.
Yep. And you get the Sammo doing his thing against the guy that was the shooter early in the episode. And that actually, I mean, you could almost say it has shades of SPL, Sammo versus Donnie, because you got this nightclub and the way it's all lit, and you get some wire work here. So Sammo gets to show off a little bit in this fight scene. I like it a lot.
They're able to take down the guys, get them all apprehended, and then the police come in. We find out that Genuine's fine and he's recovering, because of course he is, even though he got shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And the piece de resistance is that Terrell ends up finding one of these Beanie Babies, the Cuddle Buddies or whatever they're called, and actually it's thanks to Sammo, if I remember right.
Yeah. Sammo got some kind of shipment, and it's a really cool button to the joke, because Arsenio's like, "Where'd you find it?" And he said,
Made in China.
Yeah, perfect.
and so it's cool. Yeah, whenever you can get like outside of Sammo Hung, we do say brevity is the soul of wit, and martial law just kind of forces the writers to come up with these tiny phrases that can say a lot more for Sammo, and it's like that's such a great one.
Yeah, totally cool. So then he ends up taking it to the chief and solidifying his place on the team.
Yeah.
Man, seriously, like I was won over, man. I'm gonna watch this show.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys know.
And then there's some really good outtakes at the end. Like they're really funny.
The outtakes are great. Well, and it gives you a little taste of Sammo and Arsenio's like chemistry already, even on this first episode. And it's like, yeah, like like in the beginning of this episode we were talking, it's like, I don't know, you really feel that Arsenio's got his back, and that Sammo feels like he's got a good partner to be working with. Man, this is so good.
This is a super fun episode. We were totally, we did this for April Fools because we were totally expecting this to be like really dumb and hard to watch.
Right.
But we actually really liked it, which is
we did.
This is fun.
Yeah, it's
just
so cool.
like I guess like last year.
Yeah, kind of like last year, and I guess we'll see what we do in a year from now. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. That was Marshall. We never even said the name of the episode. The name of the episode is How Sammo Got His Groove Back.
Cool.
So
we can put
name.
that in the back of the VHS.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But yeah, this is a really fun episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching through the rest of the series.
Yeah, totally. And the crossovers.
And the crossovers, definitely.
The DVD set has both seasons, and it has the crossover episodes.
It has the early edition and the Walker Texas Ranger crossover episode.
That is just so cool.
So yeah, if you're interested, I found mine on Amazon, so check it out.
Yeah.
Man, I should know better, but I don't know much about the history of Sammo and Chuck Norris. I mean, they definitely must have.
Yeah, definitely crossed paths at some point.
In the Bruce Lee days.
There is. I was able to find some behind the scenes footage of the crossover on YouTube. Maybe I'll add it to the episode. So
that would be great.
See that too, and it's really cool. Like seeing them being interviewed and talking about one another. It's pretty cool.
Oh man, and the Mad TV sketch we've got, like it kind of it sort of crushes you if you're a fan, but
I mean it's not a great. It's definitely not a great.
Yeah.
I mean, Mad TV's sketches are pretty more missed than hit in my opinion, but it's still just funny. It's just a cool kind of
like
time
capsule.
Time capsule. That's the word. Yeah, it's a real time capsule of the late 90s, early oddies. So
yeah,
and I love Will
like,
Sasso too. So.
Yeah, I love Will Sasso. Like he could have been on the show.
Totally. He could have been that other cop that kind of gets the kind of gets pushed to the side.
Totally.
They could have done that every episode. Have another cop come in.
Back to Shanghai for you.
At the end of every episode, he gets shipped away.
Literally gets Shanghaied every episode.
So great.
Yeah, if I was writing the show, that's what I would have done.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you could. I imagine there's like a booming martial law fan fiction.
Of course.
Sure.
And you could contribute to that.
Although it's funny that you say that. The DVD actually is only a couple years old. Like the DVD release was only in 2016. So there are people that care about martial law out there.
Dude,
so.
That's awesome.
Hey, good for them.
Wanted it.
Gotta give people what they want. All right. Well, thank you so much for checking us out. If you like the show, then you can leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are at Heroes, 3 podcast. Thank you so much to the Kung Fu Cinema subreddit if you're checking us out from there.
Enjoy the Ip Man movies.
Yeah. Tune in next week for your regularly scheduled Ip Man. But until then, I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
We are the Heroes 3. Remember your training. Heroes 3 is part of the Mercado Brothers Podcast Network.
I can't believe we did this.